Hello and welcome to Close Calls on the 42.ie, brought to you in association with Eir Sport. We are just hours away from the weigh-in in Las Vegas ahead of the biggest combat sports event of our lifetimes, like it or not. My own name is Gavan Casey, and joining me in the blue corner to preview Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, or vice versa, is the 4-0 professional boxer, Lily White Lightning, Eric Donovan. How are things?
I'm good, Gavin. Thanks for having me. Really looking forward to this fight. I suppose at the beginning, when it was first kind of thought about and rumours were thrown out there that maybe this could potentially happen, I thought, no, never ever in a million years is this going to happen. And then, of course, the inevitable happened, and we're only a few hours away from it. And we're all intrigued to see what's going to happen. It could be an absolute stinker. It could be a classic. Can McGregor hurt Mayweather? Can he be the first person to drop him? Can he be the first person to beat him? Is Mayweather going to school McGregor? All of these questions remain to be answered, so everybody's intrigued. I'm one of them. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, hopefully we can answer a few of them in due course. We will have some words from Joe Duffy of the UFC, who once stopped McGregor, or submitted him rather, in 2010. He'll be joining us later. And also we'll have a word on McGregor's future from his coach, the one and only Kavanagh. But joining Eric and I live on the line right now is Danny Mal, Jason Quigley, live from Donegal, or Donegal, Ireland, as they call it over your way, Jay. Donegal High, yeah. Jay, how are things?
All good, lads, all good.
Are you excited for it, Jay, or how do you fancy it?
Absolutely buzzing for this fight, because I'm the one that's getting a lot of stick for my prediction, and I'm standing by it 100%. Conor McGregor is going to be the first man to knock Floyd Mayweather out cold. And as I said before, and I'll keep saying it, they'll be calling me Mystic Mac after this prediction.
Mystic Animal.
Yeah, Mystic Animal. How do you see it going that way, Jay? What makes you think it's going to go that way, considering, I suppose, all logic and sense would point to the opposite?
Well, I think it was really the likes of Conor McGregor in his prime. Boxing is a young man's sport. People say always give it a go when you're young. Always give it everything when you're young, because when the time keeps ticking on, you're not going to be the same man. You're not going to be this. And the thing about Floyd Mayweather, what is he good at? His defense, his reactions, his speed, his footwork, everything like that. The man is now 40 years of age. That isn't the same as what it was when he was in his heyday. And Conor McGregor is the man to exploit all of them, because he's on point with every single thing that I mentioned about Floyd Mayweather. Conor McGregor's movement, his timing, his speed, his accuracy, everything is on point, and we've seen it throughout the MMA, the UFC, everything. And I just think that, as Conor says, they got greedy, and he's called Money Mayweather for a reason, and he's just looking at this as on the money side, and has he taken his eye off the ball of this young, hungry Irishman?
I know, listening to you, Jay, and I know it makes a lot of sense. Your logic makes sense. You're giving your fair points, but are you in a way underestimating Floyd Mayweather in the sense that you talked about his defensive skills, his reaction, but you don't get to 49-0 by just being a defensive genius. You have to throw punches to win fights. And I just think from the other point of view that obviously McGregor being the UFC fighter, he's never had a boxing match before, so he has talked about this fight being a fraction of a fight, like a half a fight, or he referred to it as a fraction of a fight. But this is anything but. This is a full fight. This is a elite, world-class level boxing match where I think Conor has a fraction of the boxing skills. And I just wonder if he has enough in his toolbox, because from what I've seen of him, and trust me, I'm a Conor McGregor fan. And when Ricky Hatton went over to box Mayweather, I was a Ricky Hatton fan. I was up all night hoping Ricky Hatton would do it, because he was their closest neighbour. And McGregor now is getting the opportunity, and I never ever thought an Irishman would get the opportunity to box Mayweather. So, in a way I'm rooting for a miracle too, but I'm just trying to be real about it. I can't really see it happening. I just think you can't spar yourself ready for a 12-round contest. You have to be in many situations, many experiences. You have to go through so many scenarios. what to do in a clinch, what to do here, how to take a round off, how to come back strong. Where Mayweather knows all of this stuff. Like, he has all of that data collected over many, many years. McGregor, I don't feel, has had that experience, if you know what I mean.
Of course, like, I'm not one bit underestimating Floyd Mayweather. You put the 28-year-old Floyd Mayweather in with the 28-year-old Conor McGregor, I think Floyd Mayweather will beat him because of his talent and his skills. And you also put it into the situations, if Conor McGregor can get out of a clinch on a ground with a black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, anybody else standing, I think Conor, up on his feet, will have that movement. Conor's not a boxer. Conor's an athlete. He's slick. His movement, his flexibility, everything like that. Conor isn't just your typical stand-up, come-forward fighter or UFC brawler that just wants to get you on the ground and tap you out or just bulldoze you out of there and knock you out. Conor is so slick. And Eric, you know also that one of the most important things getting in through those ropes is your own belief. And I think everyone will agree with me that nobody believes it more than Conor McGregor.
What about Mayweather's age then, Jay? So you mentioned obviously he's 40 and he's pushing on, but say even going back 2 years to when we saw him against Andre Berto, he looked like a pretty decent 38-year-old, you know, and I'm wondering how much do you feel he will have deteriorated over the 2 years? Like, why will that deterioration have accelerated over the past 2 years as opposed to the 2 years before that and the 2 years before that again? Is it just because he's getting to this number? Like, because to me it strikes as Mayweather's a guy who looks after himself, actually similar to yourself, like doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. And deterioration tends to happen when you're in brawls and wars and taking unnecessary punishment. He's never really done that. So what makes you think he'll have slowed down to the extent that McGregor can clip him this weekend?
Because mentally he's been out of the game. Mentally he hasn't been, his mind isn't working sharp. He's not in, you know, it's like everything in the amateur game. We always used to have test matches before big tournaments and everything like that, was because we had to get the next realest thing to a fight to prepare ourselves, not only physically but mentally. And look, Floyd Mayweather is a money man. Do you know what I mean? The money that he has, the life that he lives, he's traveling all over the world. He's at the stage in his career now where he has everything he wants. He has all the houses. He has all the cars. He's starting out to enjoy his time with his kids, you know, spending all the money on them. And his mind is switched off from the actual game that has made him what he is. And he had every right to switch off because he's done everything out there. He's beat everyone out there. He's TBE, the best ever. But Conor McGregor is the man that has been staying in shape, hungry. He's only at this level his last 2 or 3 years. This isn't becoming a routine to Conor McGregor no more. He's in his prime. He's still hungry. He's still determined. Floyd Mayweather has been doing this for over a decade. Do you know what I mean? And it's starting to get stale for him, in my opinion.
See, I have a different point of view on that. Like, I don't think Conor McGregor set out on his journey in the UFC to one day eventually be boxing the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. I don't even think he had that path or that trajectory for himself. I think what happened was, obviously he wanted to get to the make history in the UFC. He's done that. He won the featherweight title. He moved up and won the next title. He keeps pushing the boundaries. I have a feeling that he made a throwaway comment about, I'm going to knock up Mayweather. See, does he want to come out and play one day when all these UFC guys were, you know, nobody was challenging him anymore. And then the momentum with the fan base behind Conor McGregor and the fan base that Mayweather has as well. I think Mayweather, obviously, he held the trigger for this. So he sat back and he let it boil, let it boil, let it boil. And when he felt it was business worthy, when it made sense, he just pulled the trigger and said, let's do this. So I don't think Conor McGregor really believed that this was going to happen. Now it's happened. And he's had a 6 or 8 or 10 week, whatever it is, week training camp for it. I understand he didn't bring in any boxing experts or anything like that. He wants to do what he's been doing all his career, which is his UFC unorthodox style, which he's better off sticking to what he knows and what he knows best. But I just think you can't replicate a fight against Floyd Mayweather under the lights, in front of the full arena, millions watching around the world, doing something that you normally only used to do a bit of, doing something at the highest level.
Particularly with the sparring partners he's operating with as well.
I just think, and I know there's the exception of, what if Mayweather gets old overnight? What if he just turns old in the ring? Do you know what? If he was in the ring, Mayweather, against a world level boxer, a world class boxer, proven boxer, then you would worry for Mayweather if he got old overnight. But I just think he has the smarts, the cleverness, the little... you know, all of his previous fights, when people try to ruffle his feathers, get under his skin, hit him low, pull him down, they try to do everything, he still remains calm and collected. And he, in a way, he collects data and susses you out. Then when he finds a way, he breaks you down. And I know from watching Conor, and I've done a lot of research, his best weapon is his left hand. And against the orthodox, the left hand is the best punch you can throw against an orthodox fighter. So, but he can't just depend on that one single punch to beat the greatest fighter ever. He's going to have to be loose. He's going to have to be relaxed, because if you get tense and angry or stiff against Mayweather, everything becomes predictable and you telegraph things. But Conor's defense is something as well that I would worry about, like, because Nate Diaz has landed an awful lot of punches on him, and so has other boxers too. But Nate Diaz is not the same caliber of boxer as Floyd Mayweather. He wouldn't have the same speed, the same accuracy, or the know-how.
But you look at it, Eric. You look at in a boxing match, all we have to look out for is the two fists coming at us. In a MMA fight, Conor McGregor's mind is prepared for kicks, knees, fists, elbows, takedowns, everything. Now all he has to worry about and concentrate on is punches coming at him. And you see Conor's timing. You see him when he knocked out Aldo. You see one of those other where he won the Celtic Warrior, or whatever, the Cage Warrior one.
Yeah.
Like those snappy backhands that he's been landing. You know, and the other opposition as well that you mentioned about Floyd Mayweather has been in all these situations before when he gets ruffled and tangled up. But has Floyd Mayweather ever been ruffled or tangled up by an MMA world-class fighter? Like, Conor is going to stretch the boundaries. He's going to stretch the rules. And I know you can only do that to a certain extent. But I definitely think that Floyd Mayweather will not have the experience of being in with the type of style, the type of tactics that Conor McGregor has taken to this fight.
But just on that note there, right? You said, like, the only thing he has to worry about is two fists. But from his whole career, he's been worrying, as you said, about kicks, about elbows, knees, whatever, Superman punches and roundhouse kicks, the whatnot. It's not as easy as saying, right, I'm going to switch off this part of my brain and I don't have to worry about that anymore, and I'm just focusing on two fists. I actually think that that's going to be a problem as well, knowing that when he's under the cush, when he's really in a bit of trouble, maybe in the ring, when Mayweather starts jabbing that body, you know, gassing the body, he's a brilliant jab to the body. You know, the way he just leans in, leans out, and starts, you know, maybe peppering Conor with a few light punches around the head as well. When you start to get a little bit frustrated, it's harder then, because he'll, in a way, he won't mean to, but in a way, the instincts, he'll be thinking of knee, elbow, you know, whatnot, you know, this type of stuff that he's used to. It's like going back into his comfort zone. So I actually don't think it's going to be as simple as he says it. I don't have to worry about that. And I know you touched on it there, because I think that's going to take up a lot of energy in the brain, because you'll have to. He won't be able to automatically think, I don't have to use this. If you know what I mean, if you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying. I know, like, obviously when we get in, as a boxer, we get into the ring, if somebody's just good at uppercuts, we're not going to be saying, okay, all I have to do is look for his uppercuts. Conor's an athlete. He's a world-class athlete. He doesn't have to say, okay, I'm not going to be looking. His brain will automatically switch and understand that, okay, I don't have to have an eye up on his feet or an eye up on his hands or here, whatever. He's just going to be focused. And I think, see what you're saying as well about the body shot. I think Conor, that jab to the body from Mayweather, I think Conor's going to eliminate that, because you see Conor's stance. Conor's going to be like a fucking Bruce Lee kind of stance.
To be fair, he's got great footwork and distance.
Yeah.
He's
No.
really going to have to use that.
Well, they're talking about a kind of a karate stance and like a wider stance, but we might actually get into sort of strategy and that kind of thing in a second. First, we are going to take a couple of predictions from the commenters. By the way, it's been the easiest 15 minutes of my life so far, so fair play to you lads. Leon says Floyd inside 6. Conor's face will resemble Gaddy's after his fight with Floyd. Dave Barry says, hard to see anything but a Mayweather win, but I think McGregor will surprise a few by putting it up to him. A long one here from Kieran Rice. He says, love McGregor, but he's fecked. He'll come out in the first like a man possessed, throw lots of hard and wild punches. The crowd will go wild thinking he has Floyd under pressure, but really he hasn't landed a punch, hitting Mayweather around his gloves, his shoulder, his forearms, but not landing. Then boom, Conor takes a sharp jab to the face, then another. Floyd will school him until he gets bored and then knock him out. Both men walk away happy with the outcome, happily ever after. A reminder, by the way,
are you sure that's not Mystic Mac there talking to you?
Reminder, by the way, that we are giving away some 42 goodies and a €100 voucher for a sports tour as well, if you want to comment with your prediction. Jason, a man you were very familiar with about 7 years ago, did submit Conor McGregor in the octagon, and 6 months later put MMA in his rear view, albeit briefly, forging a boxing career for himself, professional boxing career that is. We, on the topic of McGregor's left hand and that power translating from MMA to boxing, we caught up with Joseph Duffy, the UFC lightweight, from his base in Montreal, and we began by asking him, can McGregor's left hand make that difference, and how did he find carrying power from the octagon into the ring?
I found from sparring the boxers, I definitely feel they hit harder. So I wouldn't necessarily say that, if he lands a left hand, there's going to be a game over. The same way with the small gloves, I definitely think it has a bigger impact. Plus, the boxers are a little bit more conditioned to the shots. They go into a fight expecting to take at least 1 or 2 shots. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to tip him over if he cracks him, but I'm still going to tune in. I'm interested to see.
You've obviously experienced some of Conor's power. I mean, even when you did submit him, you were taking a bit of heat at the edge of the cage, and look, there's no doubt. I think the man hits hard. It's as to whether or not he can hit harder than, say, Marcus Maidana, Canelo, or even going back to De La Hoya, Shane Mosley, who rocked Mayweather in the second round with an overhand right. What is his power like? Do you think that it's kind of respectable relative to some of those fighters and more that have stepped in with Mayweather and really not landed anything significant?
I don't know. When I fought Conor, I didn't get caught with nothing clean, really. I thought his timing was good, but I didn't really feel no crazy power. I've boxed some people, and as soon as they hit you, they could hit you on the arm, and it feels like it shakes you across the ring. It definitely didn't feel like that. I think it was more, like you said, timing and precision that he had well. Obviously, Mayweather's been in with the likes of Canelo. I definitely don't think Conor's going to hit as hard as Canelo, but I think he's got a bit more finesse about him. He might be able to sneak that left in, and obviously, Pac-Man caught Floyd with it, and Floyd just relaxed on the ropes and kept his cool. So it's definitely going to be an opportunity to land it, but how Floyd reacts is another story.
What were the biggest adjustments for you, Joe, when you did, I suppose, embark upon a short boxing career as it transpired, but I suppose in terms of the distance you're fighting at, shot selection, shot technique, what were the biggest learning curves for you, and I suppose, just the biggest differences between being a practitioner of MMA and a boxer?
Shot selection was the main one, I thought. In MMA, we got a habit of, people will throw and someone will try and counter immediately, that sort of way. With a boxer, some of them guys you'll spar, they'll march you down, they'll take you to the ropes where they know you can't move, and then they'll work. And when they throw the shots, they're not putting power in every shot. They'll touch, play, and then when they see an opening, then they'll put the power shots in. Obviously, over 12 rounds, you need to be efficient with your technique and with your power shots. It's like trying to sprint. If you try and sprint a marathon, you're never going to do it. And it's the same thing with the power. You got to be a bit more a bit more sensible about where you put in the power shots. So I would say over 12 rounds, I would say that was the main difference, being a bit more selective with your shots and picking the right target, because obviously there's a smaller target.
Great stuff from Joe Duffy there. Joe Duffy. We'll have a full interview with him on the 42 early on Saturday morning. Some more previews. He had some kind words for yourself as well, Mr. Quigley. He was wishing you well in your recovery. He hopes to catch up with you in your native land very soon. You met him, I think, a couple of years ago. You would have come across him in a gym in Wales, you were saying, I think?
Yeah, that's correct. We, God rest, Jimmy Murphy now over there. He used to keep all the boxers, majority Irish boxers, used to go over and stay with him. And we would all went down to St. Joseph's gym, or even in the Calzagi's gym in Newbridge, and done some sparring and everything like that, And first time I met Joe, I don't think he knew I was a boxer, or I knew he was a boxer. We just met in the house and thought we were related to Jimmy some way. But no, I met up then with Joe as well after one of his fights in Vegas, and top lad, down to earth, everything like that, and he's going very well as well, and doing Donegal proud.
Absolutely, yeah, the both of you are. He has a prediction for us as well, which will be in that interview tomorrow. But we might talk before we get your predictions, guys, just a little bit about tactics, what we can expect from both fighters. I think from the beginning, I suppose, of the build up to this fight, everyone thought, well, McGregor's going to be the bigger man. He can impose his will. He can impose a kind of a physicality that Mayweather wouldn't necessarily be accustomed to. But you look at it, and if McGregor was to try and rough Floyd up on the inside, he's negating his one weapon, as you pointed out, Eric, which is his left hand. I mean, he's excelled as a distance fighter in the octagon, and I'm starting to think now he's actually going to try and take a step back and try and fight from the outside. But I think that plays into Mayweather's hands completely. Yeah,
I was asked this question. I was asked how do you beat Floyd Mayweather? And to be honest with you, I didn't know, because there was no blueprint. Nobody's beaten him. But I looked at the guys that have come very, very close to beating him. Oscar De La Hoya, Marcus Maidana, Shane Mosley rocked him, let him off the hook. Floyd won, kind of a landslide in the end. But these guys came very, very close to hurting him. I know De La Hoya hurt him. I know De La Hoya had him under the cosh a lot of times. And now you actually thought, watching that fight live, that De La Hoya won it. But these are aggressive fighters, come forward fighters. I don't think McGregor has that style.
No. And
probably shouldn't use that style anyways. He needs to stick to what he is good at, which is being kind of unusual with his style, with his UFC style, gliding, slipping left, slipping right, doing all of this hand shapes and stuff. That's fine, that's not illegal. Just trying to catch Mayweather off guard, give him nothing that he's used to seeing, because he's seen every type of boxer style, and then hopefully he can try and expose Mayweather in a way. And as McGregor has always said, timing beats speed, that kind of stuff. That's what he's going to need. He's going to have to land with timing or precision and that type of stuff. Because if he goes on into Mayweather with an onslaught, a real angry onslaught, aggressive combinations, Mayweather he curls up, he does the shoulder roll, and he'll tie you up and he'll turn you around.
Jay, what do you reckon? Can Conor fight from the outside and find success in this fight, or do you think he needs to get up close and again kind of impose his physicality?
I think one thing about Conor is obviously right away his size. You know what I mean? Conor's going to be getting into that ring a lot bigger man than Floyd, but not a sluggish bigger man. He's still going to be sharp. He's going to be on point. And just another fighter there, Eric, as well, that I think came very close to beating Floyd was Zab Judah.
Yeah,
that's right.
And you look at Zab Judah's style. Yeah. He's slick, he's sharp, he's fat. Yeah. What I mean? And that's one that I think that you can look at, and that was a Mayweather in his prime.
Yeah. Judah dropped him as well, by the way. Judah clipped him with a right hand, and Mayweather's glove touched the ground.
Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think Zab Judah is the smaller fighter between Floyd and Zab, so I think with the style that McGregor's going to come in, I think he's going to come in with that Bruce Lee kind of style, the legs very wide apart, the hands down.
Yeah, we're going to get a physical demonstration from Eric here in a second, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that Conor's going to be throwing shots from everywhere, and I think what Joe Duffy has told me before, that Conor doesn't have massive power. It's his timing. When your brain isn't ready and doesn't see a shot coming and you get clipped, that's when you go on your ass. You know what I mean? When the brain's not waiting for it and when you're not ready, you get the shock to the brain, and that's where McGregor's knockouts come from. Angles, speed, timing, they rattle you and they put you on your ass. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to come in very awkward, very unique. He's going to be throwing shots from all angles. And I think that Conor McGregor is going to land some devastating shots on Floyd Mayweather that he's never been hit with before.
We'll come back for your final predictions in a second, gents. We'll get some from the viewers. Owen Nolan says, I hope McGregor wins. Good on him and all he has done for himself. And if he is to lose, I hope he loses on points or a decent knockout. My only fear is that Mayweather might put him on his hole about 5 or 6 times and completely embarrass him and show it up for the mismatch that it is. But it is a spectacle and crowds love a spectacle. Wise words there from Owen. Mike O'Mahony says John Kavanagh will throw in the towel at the start of the 9th. Speaking of John Kavanagh, I don't think he'd take too kindly to that, firstly, Mike, but we did catch up with him. I mean, a lot of the speculation around this is, given the money that McGregor is making, how could he possibly motivate himself to fight again, be it in the ring or the octagon? John Kavanagh had a slightly different take, and here's what he had to say.
I would absolutely do that if he had a style of fighting that he took damage. I seen the new UFC guy, isn't it? I can't say his name. He fought Michael Johnson, and he took a tremendous amount of punishment, and then he came back. It was a great fight, you know, for the fans, a really great fight. But if I was in that guy's corner, I'd be terrified, because I'm worried about 10 years' time, 20 years' time. But Conor doesn't have that style. You could probably count on one hand the many really good shots he's had in the last couple of years. He's so hard to hit. So with his style of fighting, let's keep running. As long as he's getting enjoyment out of it, as long as he's getting that rush out of it. But if he was a bloody mess after every fight and the head was all over the place, and you know, with a team of doctors looking after him for a month after each contest, yeah, I would certainly be pulling him aside saying, oh, come on now, you've a wife and a young kid, and what are we doing this for? What's the benefit? But at the moment, it's his most fun thing to do, if he's not ripping around Dunleary in a jet ski, is do combat sports, and it's not causing him any damage. So as a friend and his coach, I'll keep walking with him.
On after 12 o'clock tonight, just
Alright, welcome back. Having a bit of laugh there while we were listening to Mr. Kavanagh. Keeper predictions flying in, by the way. We will be picking a winner after this video is finished, so even if you're watching it back later and you fancy winning some, well actually I think it's a serious heap of 42 goodies and a €100 voucher, do let us know. You don't even need to pick a round necessarily, just who you think is going to win and how. Which brings us to the two of you, gents. Eric, I suspect I know which way you feel it's going to go. How is it going to happen, do you reckon? Is it going to be a case of, you referenced that fight with Nate Diaz, for example, Mayweather starts peppering Conor with shots, he starts to panic a little bit, this isn't my field, maybe he starts to get a little bit wild, as one of the commentators said, or commenters rather, said there, and Floyd just sort of picks his moment and ends it? Or how do you see it transpiring?
I'm actually really worried about McGregor's conditioning. I know he's been in many world title UFC fights, but it's a different game. It's a different fitness. It's a different conditioning that you need. So I'm really worried about that. And I think one of the most effective punches that Mayweather has is the left jab to the body. He gets so low and he just punches it in, knocks the gas out of you. It worked well for him against Maidana as well, and it works well for him in all his fights. He brings you onto that right hand then, but he doesn't have the concussive power, I think, to spark Conor McGregor out. I think he's going to chip away at him quite regularly, with a lot of punches to the head and to the body, and I think that will culminate in Conor getting frustrated, annoyed, and his conditioning energy levels will be slowly going towards empty when he's missing with big, powerful shots. Because every time he misses Mayweather, he's going to lose some energy. I see a stoppage around 6 or 7 rounds for Mayweather.
Jay, let's end on a high note then. What do you reckon?
the fight is going to be like my prediction. Short and sweet. Conor McGregor's going to knock Floyd Mayweather out cold.
Well, listen, lads, to paraphrase TBE himself, one of you on Sunday morning is going to be looking like a right Egypt, but we'll have to wait and see which one of you it is. I'm going to withhold my own prediction for now. That is all we've got time for on Close Calls here. Our thanks, as per usual, go to Eir Sport. We will be back on the 42.e live with the GAA show on Monday, but until then, enjoy the fight if you're up for it, or even if you watch it back on Sunday, and have a good weekend. Take care.